What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And we got part 3 of PJ's car coming at you. And it's gonna be a lot of wiring. Now, I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna show you guys that since it's not the most exciting stuff. But we did get some new parts and that kind of stuff, so we'll show you that. And then it's basically gonna be me trying to wire this thing up and figure different things out. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so you just seen I got the coil packs loosely put on, put all new spark plugs in it. Dang, when are you breathing hard over there? Yeah, and put the wires on, and I have no idea why, but these wires are like 2 inches too long, so we'll probably use these for just startup, but they look terrible, so we're gonna get some smaller ones for that. But yeah, let's keep going with the wiring. All right, guys, so let's go over real quick and dirty on the setup of the Terminator X and kind of the wiring. So let's go look at that. All right, so before I put the intake down, I laid down the harness. You can see where I came out of that hole there. We'll put a rubber garment there. Basically kind of lay the harness out, and then you come with one side of it and you'll see some of the longer stuff. You got your mat sensor. That's gonna plug into your, I think it's manifold air temperature sensor. So once we get an intake on, that sensor will go into that. Let's see, we have our throttle position sensor, which is here, comes into the top. We have our idle air control, which goes right into the top piece here. Coolant temperature sensor comes down here, and then you have one other, which is fuel sensor, which is optional. So you don't have to run that, or you can get a fuel pressure sensor. You'll be able to see it on the display. So that's what comes underneath the intake. And then you'll have, actually, I think you can see it right in there. That plug right there will come out here and go to my coil packs, one on each side. In the rear, you can see that one. That is our map sensor. We'll plug that in. Down the side, you'll have, let's see, where is it? This guy here, it's wrapped in some heat tape. That goes down underneath and goes to your crank sensor. Let's see what else. In the back there, you have your oil sensor. So that's in the back here, as well as there's another connector that goes to your injector harness. Depending on which injectors you have, that plugs in right back there. One more plug back there, which I believe goes down to the O2 sensor, and it looks a little bit different. It's got coating on it. Looks similar to that. So that's all comes there. And then coming out of the main loop is, I believe we have a 12-volt ignition wire. Gets 12 volts. We have, I believe the green one is to your fuel pump, and I'd have to look up to see what the blue one is. That's what we got there. Come in here. We got everything that comes through the firewall, comes down into this loop. These are gonna get connected to your Holley. There's also a power cable, which you see it running right up there, which you run directly to your battery. Then you'll have basically your turn on, basically your activation for your Holley, and a ground. So those you'll basically tie into the panel I built up here. So that'll be able to turn on the Holley from the key and ground. And then this other switch comes from your battery that goes again into the Holley. And let's see, over here we have our CAN input that goes to our screen. And let's see, there should be some more. There is a spot for, we'll have to add the connector for your alternator, which is down here, which actually Holley sells separately. So I'll have to get that, or just get a plug and then run that to 12 volts. Now, if you had the regular Terminator, that'd be pretty much it. as far as running everything for the Terminator, but for this setup, we also have our transmission control. So that one's gonna be new for me, doing all this, but this is basically your transmission plug. This is your, I think it's vehicle speed sensor. And over here, I think we have turbine sensor. So that goes to all to your transmission fuse here. And then I believe we have another, basically 12 volt option here. I have to look at the manual for that. Ground, and then two other, and then that's to your actual Holley. In here, this is just some extra outputs. There's another connector for it in there, so you can have different outputs for like two-step, trans brake, stuff like that. This is our little screen here. And then this guy goes to our O2 sensor. So that's pretty much how this thing gets wired up. Basically just doing all the big stuff first, kind of getting it laid in there. And then once I get the injectors, which is kind of weird that this LS1 intake, I think uses LS3 injectors. So I might have to use adapters for that, but the only setting is low, small injectors. It doesn't use the high LS1, not sure. But once we get those ordered, I can go ahead and bolt this down fully with the gaskets. And then we'll have to go into a little bit of our fuel system. I don't know what fuel pump's in this. I'm assuming from the old motor, since it looks like they did a bunch of Holley stuff. I got a fuel filter there and a regulator here. I'm hoping there's an upgraded fuel pump. We'll see. We'll tap into that, get the Holley to start that. We still need a radiator. There's a few more things. I think that's about it for how to set it up. Now, some other cool things we got. Let me pull this guy out of here. So this is a little shifter from ShiftWorks, and it's like a period correct 69 shifter that'll actually work for, you can see it there, work for a 4L60. So that'll be kind of cool to look completely stock with this in there, so you won't even know. We got all the wiring and stuff hidden underneath there with the aired out panel. And basically we just gotta start wiring stuff in, which I know is not gonna be super exciting, but it's a part that's gotta get done. So I'll continue to wire everything up. I gotta get Tyler to build a couple larger gauge power wires. We gotta do one to the starter, one to the alternator, and then I need one to the fuse panel. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. All right, so before I end this one, I wanted to go over quick some of the loose wires that come with the Terminator, because I didn't do a great job at going over them before. So, all right, so of these three wires, we got our blue with white stripe, that's our tachometer. The green, I think I said before, which was the fuel pump. And then our red, that needs to go directly to the battery and needs to be a clean source. So that's why they tell you directly to the battery. This is gonna power your fuel pump and your injectors. At least that's what the manual says, and they asked you to make sure that you fuse that one. In here, I think I did this one right. This was clearly your ground, and then your switch 12 volt power. So only when ignition is on, should this get power, that'll fire on your Holley. And then I think the only other thing I forgot in here was there's two ground straps in the back of each head. And then I'm gonna let the manual can do your transmission wires, which are labeled here. Manual is actually really good for this. It's real easy to wire. That's gonna do it for this one. I know it's a little boring. The wiring is not the most fun thing to do and usually scares a lot of people, but the Terminator X is super easy to follow. Honestly, any swap I do, pretty much just buy the Terminator because it's just so much easier to do. And honestly, at the end of the day, after you spend $700 on the harness from GM or getting them to change it, it's just, to me, it's just easier. Spend the $900, get the Terminator X, comes with the screen, self-learns, great little thing. But that's gonna do it for this one, because this weekend, I'm probably got to pull this thing out, so we're not gonna finish it just yet. We'll pull it out, and I got a ton of stuff we gotta do to the 240, because we gotta get that thing ready for FL2K. So stay tuned for the next one. That'll be out soon, and tell your friends.